on? Huh? That thing? Is it on?
Sure is.
Can you hear me?
Sure.
Okay. Hello? Hello? Little eye drop.
Yellow.
All right. My hot mess today. Everything's fine. We'll throw it in unedited, unaltered.
When aren't you a hot mess?
Well, that's fair. Everybody, welcome back to another Wednesday Whiskey Review. If you don't know who we are, I am Mike. Nice to meet you. If you're new here, to my left, your right is Derek. Derek and I decided in 2019 to start a podcast.
Well, we're going way back, huh?
Spiraled into a marketing phenom where now we sit here as certified bourbon stewards and talk to you about RYE. I say again, we sit here as certified bourbon stewards and talk to you about RYE. If you ever wondered what this podcast and business experience is like, reread my last sentence in the subtitles below. So,
what's going on?
Starting off with our sponsors.
What are we doing?
Thanks to Addie's, we are able to sit here and talk to you about all fun things whiskey. Thanks to Addie's Fine Wine and Spirits located on Transit Road in Williamsville. They have a in-house wine sommelier and knowledgeable staff.
Sommelier.
Massive inventory and an app that you can download on the Apple App Store and or the Google Playground Play Store, where you can search their inventory, buy products, and have it mailed right to your door if you don't feel like driving to them. Addie's, thank you so much for being a sponsor. We appreciate it. And in other news, if you are a subscriber, follower, fan, listener, regardless of where you are in the world, we appreciate you, and we look forward to producing future content so that you can enjoy, judge, probably unsubscribe, unfollow, and on Patreon. But we are here for it, and we are never going away. We are very stubborn, so thank you all.
Right before we press record, we just reached 550 subs, bud.
That's what I'm talking about.
Pretty good milestone. I like that. So normally we do Wednesday whiskey reviews. That's this whole segment. And we're not straying too far from the path today. We're still going to be reviewing these two bad boys. But we used to do Thursday episodes. Then we realized we're doing too much stuff where we used to do educational videos on the different types of whiskey. So today what we're going to do is we have two products from the same distillery, Hartmans Distillery, located in Buffalo at 55 Chicago Street. If you haven't heard of them or you haven't been there yet or even tried any of their products, highly recommend going there. Justin Hartman is an insane person when it comes to making whiskey, and it's fantastic.
If you've been to Resurgence, you've been to Hartmans. So swing next door and check out Hartmans.
There you go. So today we have their barrel strength, barrel proof bourbon, and then we also have their rye whiskey. And what we're going to do today, we haven't reviewed these in a while. Back when we first had these on, I think it was in like the 20s or something episodes, and now we're at 148. So don't know where we're going with this, but we haven't reviewed these in a while. We haven't had them in a while. So we're going to kind of talk about the differences between the two, the different mash bills, and some flavor notes that we're picking up. Because when you guys are at the liquor store and you're looking at what kind of whiskey do you want, whiskey encompasses everything. It encompasses bourbon and it encompasses rye. So we're going to talk through some of the tasting notes so you can figure out what type of whiskey you want to go down, what path. Do you want something sweeter? Do you want something spicier? We'll talk about it all. So that's the cool thing about this. But we're not going to stray too far from the path. Let's start label branding for both of these. For both. It's going to be a combined one today.
So I'm assuming we're going to start with the rye
from
a tasting standpoint.
Why not?
Okay, so we'll start with the rye for label and branding. Starting at the top.
Yeah, go for it.
They got corks. And they are synthetic. We'll talk about it, Justin.
I can only imagine how difficult it is to get real corks right now.
Well, of course.
Yeah.
I mean,
but still,
I'm sure he's going to use that excuse.
See?
And then he's going to be like, well, you know, guys, you know. And then we all laugh about it. And then we get hammered on all things Hartmans. But I do really enjoy the time that everybody put in when it came to developing Hartmans, not only as a brand, but also as a place of enjoyment. So there was many hands in this pot. Obviously, Justin gets a lot of credit, although Jen should get a shout out.
She should.
When it comes to their label, it stands out on a shelf. And I think a lot of it, too, is because of the cursive writing of the distillery.
Yeah.
The cursive writing, the bottle shape, and having Hartmans bubbled out on the bottle itself is a super nice touch. And these make incredible water bottles or glasses rather for when you're serving with a party. You just fill them up with water and then reuse. So awesome idea.
Normally, when I look at labels, I really enjoy having like some sort of watermark behind to kind of like differentiate it and make it stand out. But for some reason, I don't mind it with this. And this isn't sponsored by Hartmans, just so you know. He doesn't even know that we're doing this. So I like having watermarks behind this, but for some reason, it just does it with me where it is right now. I like this one better because I like the blue. I like the gold aspect around this because this is their barrel proof. This one is a little bit more plain, I guess, because this is just black and white lettering. But I mean, their label's consistent. It's a beautiful label. It's an awesome bottle with a different type of bottle shape, and it has Hartmans on the side. Yeah. It has slow down, drink up on the back on the label. Buffalo, New York. It's just a well done bottle. I think I got to go A+.
I agree. A+, A+, A+. I agree.
Wow, 3 A+? I like it. All right, let's do these together. So let's pour the rye first, talk about it, but then don't like chug it because we're gonna just do these side by side so we can really talk through the differences and the nuances that we have between each bottle.
Oh, I'm pouring my own.
Yeah, you are. You're a man.
Oh, I know more than you, son.
So okay, good. You're putting it in the Glencairn, and then we're gonna put this one in the Hartmans glass. So for the rye whiskey, we have. It's a 95% rye, 5% malt. And then for their bourbon, they actually combine 2 different mash bills. One of them is a 21% rye, 76% corn, and a 4% honey malt. And the other mash bill that they combine is a 40% wheat, 5% honey malt, and 55% corn. So they don't do the traditional regular malt. They add a honey malt, which is an interesting concept. If you want to know more about his distilling process, we actually made a video with him going through how to make Hartmans whiskey, which was a fantastic episode. And Justin's great on camera, and he talked about the entire process. So go check that out if you're interested. But again, this obviously being bourbon is going to be predominantly corn because it has to be at least 51% corn. And with this rye, it has to be at least 51% rye. But normally what you see in the market is a 95% rye, 5% malted barley. And that's what you got here. So as we sip these and as we nose these, we're going to note some differences. That way, if you're in the store, you're looking for a bourbon or a rye, I almost spilled that, you can figure out what kind you want based off of what normal characteristics you're going to pick up. Obviously, there's going to be nuances between each different brand, but generally speaking, you'll figure it out from here. So let's start with the rye. Nose.
Classic.
Very much so.
Baking spice, pepper, honey, caramel, vanilla.
Yeah, it smells spicy. It smells hot. It smells like high heat. But that's mostly because of that like cracked pepper, baking spice. It singes your nose a little bit because of that spiciness.
Every time Derek and I go to Hartmans, we order the same thing. And we always act like we're going to get something else. And then we just laugh. And we're just like, why am I even staring at this ridiculous? Yeah. Like, no. Can I have the rye, a double neat? Thanks. And then we just sit there and we just smile. Yeah. I mean, it's essentially how it always goes. The rye is something that almost at all times is in our collection at our house, our personal homes that we buy with our own money just because we enjoy it that much. But the reason being, I guess my whole point to that ramble is because it's traditional. However, it's just really, really well made. It's a little smoother than you anticipate when it comes to a rye, and the nose is just so awesome because there are so many different levels and notes to it that it makes you want to try it. I love this nose. For me, it's another A+. I mean, these, I'm going to say they're 3 products. Their barrel, the rye, and then the straight bourbon are just flagships that really shouldn't ever go away.
Right.
And if it does, it's probably a really, really good business decision that Justin would make, but they're just so good.
Yeah. With, like Mike was saying, that spiciness, that's kind of where you generally get that rye characteristic from. What I like about this particular product is that it really has that like old rundown barn smell to it too. Yeah. Because if you dive really deep into this, you can get some of that splintered wood or the spoon for ice cream. Remember when we were talking about that, where those little kid ice creams that you used to have, and you got that little wooden spoon?
Yeah.
That's what you can smell on this, which I like because it's spicy, but it's not too spicy where you can't pick up those subtleness of the wood, the oak, and all that good characteristics in it, which is more of an attestation to Justin than rye whiskey itself, but it's a very interesting product on the nose, different a little bit from other ryes that you would have.
You also A plus?
Yeah, I'm also A plus. Before we do that, let's go to the bourbon, get some noses on this. What's up?
What do you think?
So the rye is 90 proof. This one is the barrel proof is 115. So this, you're getting that same wooden spoon note, which is a consistent note that you get with Hartmans products. But this one, you're getting more of a sweetness to it. The sweet corn, you're getting a little bit of hay. You're getting more of a fresh field note to it rather than a spicy, dusty shed.
Yes. Fresh field, candied sugar or caramelized sugar, and the sweet corn. That's the best way to summarize this nose. Makes you want it. I'm salivating right now just smelling these two.
Yeah, a little bit of brown sugar too.
This
I guess
is the worst.
Yeah, and
I'm so thirsty.
Well, good thing we're going to initial taste next.
I get it. I'm ready.
So, to kind of recap, brown sugar, sweetness, corn, fresh field, hay, some caramel like Werther's caramel, a little bit of syrupiness, sweetness to the bourbon. This one you're getting more of a spiciness, rye, peppercorn, and then the oaky, like splintered wood oak taste or smell you're getting from the rye. All right, so just A plus for the nose for both of them.
I agree.
I agree. All right, rye. I love that rye so much. So what are you getting on that rye?
It just hit my stomach and warmed me from the inside. And it's just like, hey, slow down.
Drink up.
Yep. It's so smooth. Yeah. It's annoyingly smooth. It makes you want to just, I just need a couple more sips. And then you're blasted because you're not drinking responsibly, which you need to, especially with these two products. But it's just so enticing. Everything about it's enticing. From the label and branding to the color of it, you get all the way down to the nose and you're just like, yep, perfect. Then you try it and you're like, exactly the way it was supposed to be. It's exactly how it is. I'm happy. You're happy. We're all happy. And then you throw in a good conversation with friends and then it's 3 a.m. Like that is, it's literally designed to perfection and it's such a good product. Highly recommend. The initial taste is soft. There's caramel. There's vanilla in there. You get that sugared, and then the very back end of the initial taste is when the spice kicks in and the pepper kicks in, and then that'll lead us into the next part. But it's just such a pleasant experience up front, and it's not really heavy on ethanol. So when you're enjoying it, you're not like having to hesitate and try to cut through anything crazy because it's too hot or it's too much. It's just really well distilled.
Yeah, I mean, you're still getting primarily the oak on the initial taste. The initial taste really does come off as a bourbon for this particular product.
Yeah.
And like Mike was saying, at the end of that initial taste is when some of those rye characteristics come in. But for me, it starts off as that wood, that splintered wood taste. And then as it's going down, it's transitioning to that cracked pepper. It's transitioning to that baking spice. And it's just kind of coating your entire tongue as soon as it hits it. This is a very oily product. And that kind of makes you just continuously want to keep drinking, which is why I think I love their product so much.
Same.
All right, bourbon.
Oof. So different, dude. The oils in this are so prominent compared to the rye. The rye is so much softer. It's even thinner. This coats your mouth, forces you to, I mean, it's tough to speak at the moment. There's so much happening.
Yeah.
But it's such a high hug. And what's nice about it, it's 114,
115, yeah.
114, 115. It sets here. So right in the middle of your sternum is when it just like stops. It's a high hug up top, but there's no indigestion, but it warms your chest in a very good, pleasant way. And then there's no upset stomach, nothing crazy like that. This is just like, yeah, I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. Enjoy this. And then your mouth is just kind of left of like, what just hit? Because it's so oily and it coats everything. And then you just start salivating for more.
Yeah. It's interesting for me. I think of this rye as you're taking and you're tasting something spicy and like kind of pointy, because when you drink this and when you let this sit in your mouth for a little bit, different areas of your mouth are triggering different taste buds, which make you feel like it's, I don't know, like it's pointy. I don't really know how to describe it, but everything is triggering in your mouth. So it's just like, oh, here's a note. Oh, here's a note. And it kind of feels like stabby a little bit. Whereas this bourbon, I feel like it's like wrapped in something so silky that as you're drinking it, it just kind of goes down and it's like, this is pleasant. Like this is what you got. This is very pleasant. And it's not triggering everything like the rye did, even though this is a higher proof for me. And I think it probably has to do with the oil, because the oil is just kind of keeping everything together, where this might be a little bit more spread out across your mouth. But to me, this just goes down so smooth. And so I don't know why people like or hate that word. I think smooth perfectly describes a whiskey when it's very oily and it just goes down.
Add 2 drops of water to the barrel strength and then taste it again. And I'm going to tell you the first thing that came out after I put the water in from a tasting note
So
standpoint.
for this, what are you're picking up? Well, I'm picking up more caramel. I'm picking up a lot of very sweet notes, kind of like a salted caramel, a little bit of vanilla, a little bit of oak to it, but not anything crazy. More oak is in with this.
Try it now.
No, I'm telling you my notes.
For me, toffee came out of nowhere. I got a lot of toffee after I put the 2 drops in.
Yeah, I could see that. I'm getting more like a nutty taste.
Pause.
Like almost kind of like a salted walnut.
I'm obsessed with these 2 products. It's almost annoying. Fine. The rating on the initial taste for me for both of these are A+ check mark.
Yeah, I agree.
I agree.
As soon as you add water to the bourbon, it does become a little bit more pointier, because obviously you're separating the oils from the rest of the flavor. So it's going to become a little bit more harsh for you to get all those notes in. But this is still, bourbon in general is very sweet. It's very, it tends to be a little bit more inviting to people because it has some of those more sweeter characteristics. It has that brown sugar. It has that salted note to it, whether it's the salted caramel, salted walnuts, salted nuts in general. Like that's going to be the primary notes that you're getting from a sweet bourbon. The rye, I didn't add a drop to the rye at all, but the rye definitely has more of those like cinnamon, cherry, and then splintery type notes to it, where it's just like, I love this, but maybe it's not as friendly as a bourbon would be. Do you agree with that?
Yes. Being very short. I'm just excited to try this after 1 drop. But yeah, I do agree with everything that you just said.
See, now as soon as you put that water in there, I'm getting more like a weathered leather taste.
100%. Like it was left at sea for too long.
Right.
Not in a bad way. It's just like, oh, totally different dynamic.
Yeah. So again, you're getting more of a raw, spicy, leathery taste. And then this one, you're getting a sweeter taste to it.
So ending notes. The pepper really kicks in on the back end of the rye without question. It almost dominates it, not in a bad way, but it's a rye. That's what it should do. That's why a lot of people enjoy rye, specifically around fall. The bourbon is still, especially after the 2 drops of non-homogeneous, homogeneous stem lock, leaf lock water, you still get, this is me speaking and only for me, a lot of toffee. And then after that toffee dissipates, then you start to bring back a little bit of the corn and then the barrel wood sugars and some aspects of the honey and the caramel and the traditional bourbon tasting notes that you would get across the board. The difference with this compared to other bourbons is not just a proof point, but the distillation process and the aging process that they use, because it really separates this product and this barrel from others. And it's just such a good product, in my opinion. Both onion notes for me with both products, I'm still going to go A+ check. I don't know. I'm very, very happy. If somebody had these at the bar, I'm just like, Yeah. Now here's a real story about Hartmans. They had a rye in their straight bourbon, and there was other local whiskey options. Won't name. It was at a venue. Then the bartender is like, hey, we're just doing a local whiskey tasting during this event. We have like a whiskey station, essentially. Everybody went up. Everybody went back for Hartmans, and Hartmans was out of product about 2 hours before the others, and it wasn't even close. So they did well, put it that way. It's just a fan favorite. It's ideal for our area within Buffalo. You really can't go wrong. And they're everywhere now. Thank God.
Yeah. Ending note, I'm still getting a lot of the leather from the rye. And then the bourbon, I'm getting a lot of salted caramel. So, again, if you're looking at options in the liquor store and you see a rye and a bourbon, that's how you can try to differentiate between the two. Bourbon is going to be primarily a little bit more sweet. Rye is going to be a little bit more spicy and raw and leathery, depending on, obviously, the brand that you have. So,
Yep.
I always recommend for people to go to a bar and sip something from the bartender first before you go out and buy a bottle of it, because everything does vary quite vastly between different brands. But generally, that's kind of the rule of thumb. I'm going to go, again, probably A+ check on the ending note, just like you said.
I agree.
Hartman's products is just very good. So if you do have it in your area or you are local to Buffalo, go pick it up, because you will not be disappointed when it comes to this stuff. Overall, I mean, if you had to choose between these two, which one would you choose?
Barrel strength, but that's just because my proof point is I'm use and abuse at this point. But I love this guy.
Yeah. I'd probably say my favorite is the rye. I still really enjoy the rye. The flavor notes in the end of it is just insane to me, and I think I always gravitate towards the rye.
Mm-hmm. It's a good everyday sipper. Final rating.
We're gonna do each one. So final rating for the rye. Ready?
Yeah, give me that countdown.
I'm gonna grab one more sip.
I crushed mine. I got very happy. It's my birthday. I'll do what I want.
All right. 3, 2, 1. 96.
94. Yeah, 95.
Crush it. All right. So the bourbon now. One more sip of this. Oh, this one's so good too.
Yes, it is.
All right. Ready?
Yep.
3, 2, 1. 95. Crushed it.
95.
I mean, in general, if you have Hartman's local to you, go pick it up. If it's in a bar that you're at, go at least try it. They are very consistent, and they're only going to get better once they start really bringing out their own product. And it's a very well-made product with very traditional notes that you will be able to tell the difference between the two. I mean, a lot of people ask me, how can you even tell the difference between these, between bourbon and rye? And it's like you have to get
so separate.
Something. A good thing to do is to get a bourbon and get a rye from the same brand distillery and have them in front of you. You can taste the difference. I can guarantee you. You'll be able to tell them apart.
Yeah.
So that's it. That's our review of Hartman's products. We have their barrel strength bourbon and their rye. If you enjoyed this review, let us know. If you want more educational episodes, I mean, maybe we throw some in every once in a while. I don't know.
We'll figure it out.
Throw them in lieu of some Wednesday whiskey reviews or episodes, because we're going to stop doing episodes eventually. So, but yeah, that's it. So thank everybody for joining. If you are going to go test out some products and figure out if you rather like bourbon or rye, Please drink responsibly. But before we get to that, let us know below in a comment, what do you prefer? Do you prefer bourbon? Do you prefer rye? Do you prefer something else? Do you prefer single malt? Do you prefer any other type of spirit? Let us know down below. But please remember to always drink responsibly. Be a good person. And Michael,
Do not litter.
we're out.